the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast with your host, Jackie Pilosoff.
No one should have to go through a divorce feeling alone and isolated. The Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast is a production of Divorced Girl Smiling, where every show is 30 minutes aimed to empower you, help you feel validated and understood, and connect you with some of the best divorce professionals in the industry. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and start smiling as you join us right now for the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. Before we get started, I want to tell you about two Divorced Girl Smiling trusted professionals who I think are wonderful. The first one is therapist Deborah Alper. Deborah works in Chicago and the suburbs, all on Zoom. She's been a therapist for a long time, and I met her 10 years ago. She specializes in divorce recovery and relationships. Deborah is a really good therapist. She's so warm, she's so compassionate, and she's very smart. If you want to learn more about Deborah, you can find her on her website, which is lifetransitionschicago.com. You can also find her in the Trusted Professionals section of Divorced Girl Smiling. I also want to tell you about a really good law firm in Chicago with an office also in Bannockburn, Katz and Stefani. I've known Dan Stefani, co-founder, for over 20 years. This is a wonderful firm that specializes in complex, high-asset divorce. They have 9 other attorneys besides Dan. I know almost all of them, I think, and I've known them for years. They are extremely well-respected, really professional, and really a good firm if you have a high-conflict divorce. They also do collaborative divorce. They're just a wonderful class act. If you want to learn more, you can find Dan and his team at katzstefani.com or in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. It's one of the most harmful things that can happen to people in divorce. I'm talking about parental alienation, when one parent tries to turn the kids against the other parent. I've seen this so many times. I've seen it with people who contact me for Divorced Girl Smiling. I've seen it with personal friends of mine. It's heartbreaking. It hurts kids. It hurts the parent who's being alienated, and it hurts the parent even who's alienating the child. I want to talk about parental alienation today, and my guest is divorce mediator Michael Cohen. Michael is the founder of Michael's Mediation, and I want to tell you a little bit about him so you understand his niche in divorce mediation. So Michael is a former corporate executive who decided to become a divorce mediator and specializes in helping people have a good co-parenting relationship and come up with a parenting plan that works for both people and the kids. So, hi, Michael.
Hi, Jackie. So good to be here and so good to see you.
Thanks so much for being on the show. And I want to tell my listeners, one of the reasons Michael got into the mediation business is because he went through a really hard divorce, and it was a huge strain on him and his kids, and he wanted people to have a better experience. So, Michael, thank you for all you do. I mean, your business is just booming, and I think the reason it's so successful is people resonate with this. People don't want to affect their kids in a negative way. They want this healthy relationship. So, tell me if you agree with me.
Yeah, completely. And like you said, I went through a litigated divorce by mistake because I wasn't aware. And I was in the courtroom so often and I saw these horrible stories just listening to other people in front of the judge. And it's just a horrible process. Like anyone going through a divorce who doesn't understand litigation and mediation should go and listen into a courtroom whether it's on Zoom or in person, and just watch it for a day and you'll be steered away from the litigation process. It really tears families apart. It forces parents to negotiate from the extremes. It creates a lot of stress. It lasts a long time. And the whole time you're doing that, the children are aware and they feel the tension. So mediation is definitely something that's healthier because parents are encouraged to work together. It takes a much shorter time, and the kids are able to move into a healthier process after seeing mom and dad work together in a healthy way, in a much quicker way. So it's kind of my passion to help people understand that path and then guide them through it.
I think you hit on something here. When people get divorced or they're going through a divorce or they decide to right at the beginning, that's when there's the most resentment, anger, bitterness. You're in a fight, okay? You've decided to get divorced because you can't stand each other at this point. Okay? I'm saying like this is not every case, but a lot of cases. So if you go into a courtroom and start litigating, which most people, even today, think that that's the only option, they don't understand that you can go to mediation even if you don't like each other, even if there's anger and bitterness and resentment. And Michael, I can't even count the number of people who will say, I can't mediate because I can't sit in a room with this MFer. I don't even want to look at him. I don't ever want to speak to him again. And what I say is that I understand that. I've been there. But this podcast, I think, is gonna help people realize that you can do that, and it's better for you, it's better for your kids, it's better for your wallet, it's better for your post-divorce life, and mediation is possible and will prevent some or both of the parents trying to alienate and get the kids involved, and it's just such a better route to go.
Yeah, and I kind of alluded to this. I'm going to say it one more time. When you litigate, your lawyers will negotiate from the extremes. So you can imagine the stress of fighting over extreme positions. When you mediate, you start with common ground. The mediator identifies and helps you find common ground, and you grow out from there. So it's not really a choice of, I can't stand him. I don't want to be in the room. I can't do this. Think about what process you want. Do you want to negotiate from the extremes on every issue regardless of how big or small it is? Or do you want a third party to help you find common ground and then help you grow out from there and find an agreement so you could walk away?
Right, and I think when you're in a courtroom, it's very cold, it's impersonal, it's awkward, and there is you feel like you're in this war, and you have this judge making these decisions, and the judge doesn't know anything about you or your situation, and there's no trust. The trust is gone. It's like you are now married to your lawyer, he's married to his lawyer, and you are battling it out. And the thing that people don't realize is that mediation, it might feel that way at first, but the process is designed to break that down. And by the end of the mediation, you're probably talking to your co-parent again. Doesn't mean you're want to get back together or even that you want to be friends yet, but you have created and crafted this plan that's best for your kids, that's going to work for both of you. And you're like thinking, well, even though I don't like this person and I'm pissed at what he did, here's our plan to make sure that our kids feel loved, secure, have a good schedule, and see us both.
Right. The reason it works is because you have an impartial third party in the room who's reframing what you're saying and helping you avoid triggers and really just keeping you on task to get to an agreement that you know better than anybody else. Like, don't outsource your parenting plan to a judge or a lawyer. You know it best. Work with a mediator. They'll help you find the common ground and what's best for your kids. So, yeah, I'm a really big believer. I wish that people didn't think they had to always hire a lawyer to get divorced because at least in Illinois, I mean, most of my clients, they hire a mediator first. We create their entire agreement and then really they just knock on a lawyer's door and say, we've done all the hard work. Here's our agreement. Can you just get us through the courts? And it's such a better process. Litigation should be the last resort when nothing else works.
Well, and if you're listening to this and you already hired a lawyer and said, "Well, I can't do that. I'm already in this $10,000." It's never too late to step out of it and say, "Let's eat our losses, talk to the mediator, Michael or another mediator, and then go back to the lawyers and say, okay, here's our plan.
Absolutely. It's your divorce. It's not your lawyer's.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to get into parental alienation. Why does this happen? Why do you think this happens?
Um, it's hard to say, but it happens enough. I think sometimes it happens subconsciously. I'd like to believe that when it happens, one spouse isn't thinking that they want to alienate the child, but there's so much unresolved conflict, anger, what have you, that their actions lead to it, and then they might feel better, that they might feel that they're more worthy as a parent, and it becomes a competition. But I'd like to believe they're not doing it intentionally, but some parents really are, and I can't I like to play armchair therapist. I can't tell you why some people would do this to their children because if you're a parent, your children should always come first. And this is one of those things that you would never stick your child in the eye with a stick. You would never hit them. You would never insult them. So why do you demean their parent, which is one of the two people that they look up to in their world?
So heartbreaking, and you're so right. And I want to tell everybody listening, yes, Michael and I are not therapists, but we've both been in this business for a really long time, and we've both seen a lot. And Michael, you're right. People are doing this subconsciously, a lot of them. It's all anger driven. It can be driven by their own emotional and mental issues. It can be driven by past trauma. Maybe their parents did it to them, or, they're acting out some form of anger. So, again, not a therapist, but people half the time don't even realize they're doing it. And I do believe that there's a spectrum of parental alienation. There's everything from just bad mouthing your ex, just every single day, all the way up to saying, making up lies, creating scenarios, going to a judge and producing false allegations. So there's definitely a spectrum. But if you're angry with your ex and you keep telling your kids one thing about your ex, that is a form of alienation. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just means try to be aware of it. Like, if you are telling your kids every day, your father's just not paying. Your father doesn't want to pay. We're going to go broke because your father's not paying. Your father's not paying. And you say that to them every single day for a year, they're going to be like, my dad's cheap. He's not paying. He doesn't love us. I don't want to talk to him. And so something so little like that, I just want people to like really watch what you say because it has a huge impact on the kids.
Yeah, and I mean the other extreme is and I've seen it, there's very slight innuendos and very polished presentations where it doesn't appear that you're bad mouthing, but you're implanting very subtle messages in the children. And kids are easy to talk to like that. You could express love while also suggesting untruths. And those are the things that over time become really detrimental to their relationship with the other parent. And I've talked to a lot of clients or couples that come to me, and some of them I don't work with. Some of them are in extreme situations where they need a lawyer. And I'm just heartbroken too by hearing how they're not provided time with their children. They're not um, given the opportunity to have a relationship with their children, and they're practically crying on the call. It's just a really I'd like to think all parents love their kids and want to be part of their lives. And just because you and your spouse decided that you're not going to be in a romantic relationship doesn't mean you should take away that ability for your children to still have two healthy parents.
You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. And today I'm here with divorce mediator Michael Cohen. And Michael and I are talking about how parental alienation hurts everyone involved. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about 5 reasons you should never alienate your children from the other parent. And the reason I feel like this is important is it's important if you think you might be alienating your kids and you didn't even realize it, or you're the one being alienated, you're going to get some really great insight and information here. We'll be right back. If you're talking about assets in a divorce, I would say the home is not only the largest asset for most people, but a lot of times it's the asset that the couple is most emotionally attached to. And in some cases, people even decide that they're not going to get divorced simply because they don't want to leave their home. And I have seen many people get divorced and they get devastated by selling their family home. And then come the tears and the sadness and the pain from leaving their comfort zone, a place they feel safe, and a space where the kids know and love. Jeff Landers is a seasoned real estate and mortgage and divorce expert with over 40 years of combined experience. And since 2010, he has helped over 700 people all over the country through the financial complexities of their divorce. If you want to talk to Jeff about keeping your home, a mortgage, financial planning, you can find Jeff at divorcehousesense.com. He also wrote this great book called Divorce House Sense. If you want to learn more, go to divorcehousesense.com. I also want to tell you about a wonderful divorce coach named Lisa Lisser. Lisa is a former practicing attorney turned certified divorce coach. She's a divorced mom. She's great. Lisa is so dedicated, so thoughtful, so committed to helping people get through a divorce. She will hold your hand throughout the entire divorce. She will help you make decisions such as, where am I going to live? Will I be able to send my kids to college? Will I be alone forever? Who am I now? Lisa's wonderful. If you want to learn more, go to lzlcoaching.com. And you can find both Lisa and Jeff in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. Today, I'm here with divorce mediator Michael Cohen of Michael's Mediation, michaelsmediation.com. And Michael and I are talking about parental alienation and how it hurts kids and you and your ex. Michael, I want to move on to 5 reasons you should never alienate your children from their parent. The first one that you wrote in this article is your children. That's the number one reason. Seems pretty obvious. And you wrote, a daughter needs a dad and a mom. A son needs a mom and a dad. They need both parents.
Yeah. Um, something that I've seen in life even before I entered this area this of work. Um, Children, if you notice, children often end up marrying someone who closely resembles the opposite sex parent that they have for whatever reason. I've noticed that. I think a lot of people have, and I think that's because they emulate that person, and that's what they think is a good partner. More importantly, your opposite sex parent is the person who sets the bar, sets the standard by which you're going to judge your own romantic partners in the future. So if you're demeaning their parent, that they're likely to accept a worse um, character person in their life as a romantic partner, and you end up robbing them of their own happily ever after. So I think it's really important to, especially for girls to look up to dads and boys to look up to moms, to constantly help them to love and admire and respect them, because that's gonna elevate the bar that they use when they're seeking their partners, and you want them to find a wonderful partner, right? So, that's my theory.
And you know what's so sad about that? And you probably will agree with me, Michael. When we were in our 20s, you don't realize that. You don't realize that you're looking for your father or your mother. And so you might, like you said, the person ends up with them accidentally, subconsciously. They just do. And a lot of times that's not a good thing. So it's the sad part is you don't even realize it until you're like in your 40s and 50s and you're deep therapy, or maybe you've gone through a divorce and you say, "Oh, I married someone just like my dad and that wasn't a good thing." Now, that doesn't mean you can't love your dad for everything he is, but what they teach you in therapy, and like I said, I'm not a therapist, but I've been to therapy enough in my life. And this is what they tell you. They say, look, you can love good parts and bad parts of your father and mother. You see the good parts, you see the bad parts, and you love the good parts. And when you're getting married or you're dating and you can say, "You know what? This is a negative thing in my life. This guy drinks too much and so did my dad." And I need to say to myself, "This is not healthy for me," and move on. And that's how you prevent divorce. So, you become aware that you are going to look for somebody that is like your father or your mother.
It's just so important because you're not a blood relative of your spouse. Okay, you've decided not to have a romantic relationship, but your spouse is blood relative to your kids, and they look up to that person, and they're them, and they feel closely identified. So they're they're their hero. Like you think of a young child, their dad or their mom is their hero. Why would you tarnish that? Like the more you let your kids aspire to something good, the better they're going to be.
Okay, yes, and also I thought of something else. Children are watching the way their mother treats their father and the way the father treats the mother, and that means in marriage and in divorce and after divorce. So if you get divorced, if you're listening to this and you're feeling like, "I feel so guilty, my kids are all gonna be screwed up," it's in your control whether your kids are screwed up or not. Right now, right here today at this time is how you can prevent your kids from being screwed up and how they can still grow up really happy and healthy even though you're divorced. And you know how that is? They can be happy and healthy if you treat your ex with respect and he treats you with respect. And you're kind to him and he's kind to you and you're polite and you don't badmouth him and he doesn't badmouth you. That makes a huge difference. And Michael, don't you feel like people call you crying, being like, I can't believe I'm getting divorced. My kids are going to be so screwed up. And the answer is they don't have to be. That's why you're going through mediation. That's why we're going to come up with this plan and you're going to co parent beautifully together so that you can be in just as a healthy of a family as people who stayed married and maybe even more. There's a lot of not happily married. There's a lot of people who stay married and it's like, oh, I wasn't a child of divorce, but my parents were terrible to each other.
Yeah, no, I agree. Co-parenting is the solution to raising healthy kids through a divorce. I'm a big believer in that.
Okay, next reason you should never alienate your children from the other parent, your mental and physical health. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you harbor such ill feelings towards somebody, it's going to affect you, right? And I've seen this personally. I've seen somebody who has alienated children, and I see it in their face. I see it. It's because it's such a negative feeling, physical reaction that people carry that it affects their mental health, both physically and mentally. And really, like when you go through life, is that the attitude you want to carry? Because you're basically waving the white flag, saying, "I'm going to be an angry person. I'm going to be a bitter person. I'm going to try to do bad in this world." When in fact, you should be looking at how do I find happiness? How do I connect well with people? How do I be a good person? That it's just it rebounds is what I'm saying, and it often does. The person being alienated at some point resolves it and figures out how to deal with it because they can't fix it. The person who continues to alienate still harbors that, and it just is unhealthy for them.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You wrote in this argument, you wrote in this article that carrying the anger is self-destructive. And, nobody likes themselves when they're doing this stuff. When you're bad mouthing your ex, I know it from personal experience. I'm not going to sit here and say I've never bad mouthed my ex. I bad mouthed my ex a ton. And I don't like myself when I do it. That's why I don't do it anymore because it doesn't serve me. But I want to tell people listening, if you hate your ex, if he was the worst person in the world, if he cheated on you, if he abused you mentally or even well, I don't know. Physically, that's a whole nother area. But even if the person was a terrible husband, treated you awful, cheated, whatever he did, it is going to hurt you if you alienate your kids against him. Let your kids figure out who your ex is. Let them see the good. Let them see the bad. Let them see everything for themselves and make their own decisions. You try to say nothing.
Yeah. I really envy couples that do that. And kids are smart. They'll figure it out. So you don't have to tell them, and nor should you tell them.
Okay, next reason why you shouldn't alienate your children is you wrote here, you become a conflicted parent. I don't really know what that means.
Well, it's you don't become true to yourself, because if you're a mom or a dad and you're a parent and you're raising your kids, you're their hero, right? You want to help them understand the world. But behind the scenes, if you know that you are denigrating their other parent, that is harmful to them. How do you, I don't know how you can justify in your own mind that you're a good parent while you're working against your very own children. It just, it would cause me sleepless nights.
It sorta ties into that self-destructive. I mean, you're not liking yourself. I get it. I could totally see that. Okay, the next one is your friends and family will lose respect for you. That is so true. They might you wrote here, they might not say anything to you, but they're either talking behind your back or thinking it to themselves.
Yeah, and you know, people think they're sly and they're doing this thing without anyone knowing, but people know. Like I've been through this myself personally. People come up to me, people tell me, "I cannot believe what she's doing. That is horrible. It's horrendous." They know who you are. They know what's happening is not valid, not real, and it they're hurting their own reputation because their friends know, their family knows. People may not step in to change anything, but they know.
Okay, even you know who else knows? The lawyers, the judge, the GAL, the supervised visitation people, if you have to have that because there's false allegations, they know. They know that you are being falsely accused, that you're a victim of parental alienation. But the problem is they have to do their job, and that's the reason why you feel like there's no justice. But I have seen cases where there is justice in the end. It's very, very difficult, but you have to try to be patient and just know, like Michael said, the people around you, they know what the truth is and find comfort in knowing that. And before we move on to the last one, I really think, Michael, we should mention Pathways Family Coaching. Pathways Family Coaching is it's a company of these two women who help people who are victims of parental alienation. They help you cope with it. You can talk to them. They help you with strategies of trying to get your kids back, try to talk to you. So I didn't want this podcast to go by without recommending such a wonderful company, which is pathwaysfamilycoaching.com.
Yeah, I had reached out to them earlier, because I was, a victim of parental alienation myself, but I wanted to reach out to them just to include them in my network for my clients who needed them. And after talking to Jenna, I hired her myself for 3 sessions, and I'll tell you, they're out of this world. They really understand. Parental alienation is very complicated, and they understand it. And oftentimes, your reactions to resolve or address it are not the actions you need to be taking, and they're very good at helping you understand the best paths forward.
I totally agree. I love them. Okay, last one, and this is really important. Last reason parental alienation is really bad is because if you are only partially successful, your children, either the other children, the ones who aren't alienated, or all of them will realize later what you did, and they'll lose respect for you and you will not have a good relationship with them. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, your children are all different ages, and the different children might be more successfully alienated than others, and other children might be emotionally aware or older and more mature and see what's going on. And you're while you're making yourself feel better by destroying one child's relationship with their father, the other children are realizing how bad you're acting, and that's going to come back to you too. So the whole point of all these things is people try to alienate and hurt their other spouse, but in fact, oftentimes this hurts their own reputation, their own relationship with their friends, their relatives, their children. It's just not worth it. And it's so terrible for children. So there's just so much wrapped up in this that I would hope that people going through here could recognize it and try to value their other spouse and be neutral. Be neutral is better than actively trying to destroy your children's relationship with your parents or with.
Now, Michael, what if someone's listening to this and they're thinking like, "Well, I don't know how to get out of it." Is it ever too late to say, "Look, I'm really sorry. I went overboard. I don't feel this way." Should they talk to their kids? Should they talk to their ex? Should they just say, "Look, I know I've been really hard on your dad. I was hurt. I was in pain, and I took it out on him and said some things I shouldn't have."
I'm getting chills hearing you say that because the person who is alienated, it's very hard. I've found from personal experience, it's very hard to overcome that. Um, the person who's doing the alienation, yes, that would be the most amazing thing if you got to that point and you could tell the children. That would be the greatest gift to your children that you could give them. And you know what? I think they would respect you also, and they would understand that divorce is hard, and they would probably give you a pass, but just respect you for owning up to it, and then trying to make a better connection for them with their other parent.
Michael, thank you so much for taking time to have this conversation. I'm sure it was a difficult one for you. Do we want to? I mean, let's just do one more minute. Do you have any advice for somebody who is the victim of parental alienation? What would you say if somebody came to you and said, my kids won't talk to me. This is getting out of control. I don't know what to do.
I mean, that's probably a question I can't answer because I went through this and I struggled, and there were two paths. I wish I knew Jenna at Pathways at the time because I would have had a different outcome. But now with that, I struggled between either um, litigating it. That was the only choice that I thought I had is to because there was pure evidence and going into court, but I didn't want to introduce more conflict for the kids. So I decided not to introduce conflict. And fortunately for me, two of my children saw through it and they understand it. We have a great relationship, but my third child is still not speaking to me. And I will never know what the best path for me was. I really don't know. I don't know if you should litigate. I think you should call Pathways. They're the expert that I've talked to that really have some good advice. That's probably my recommendation.
I love that advice. Leave it to the professionals. And also, though, surround yourself. What I would tell a friend is surround yourself with friends and family who loves you. And also, faith is a very good thing to have during a time. Go to your rabbi, go to your priest. Those are very helpful conversations as well. But I just want to say, Michael, I've known you now for like 2.5 or 3, maybe more, 3 years, I think.
Yep.
And I think you're just such a wonderful person and a wonderful father. And I really hope someday that your situation gets better with your daughter because she's missing out big time on a great, great guy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Jackie. I really do. And
And go ahead.
no, no, I enjoy the opportunity to talk about this. This is the reason I went into divorce mediation. This is the primary reason because I really want to help parents understand co-parenting, understand the implications of their actions, and just really enrich their relationship with their kids because of what I've seen.
Well, thanks again for doing this. I'm sure it was very difficult to talk about.
Thanks, Jackie.
And I want to tell my listeners also that because of Michael's experience and because he's extremely smart, his mediation practice is like a no-brainer if you're looking for a mediator. michaelsmediation.com, and you can also find Michael in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girls Smiling. And you can also go to divorcegirlsmiling.com to listen to more podcasts, read articles, or sign up for my free consult. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you real soon.